Hi everyone, my name is James Taylor and my current event is going to be on Collegiate Athletics Monopoly on Scholarship Athletes Human Capital and how that leads to big profits for colleges and universities, and brings us right into the very controversial issue if student athletes should be able to form an union. And I took and studied the University of Northwestern's latest ploy by their football program to unionize college sports and for athletes. And I wanted to speak on a few different points today in regards to why I support the college athletes' decision to unionize and to be paid. So today we're going to be hearing a little bit about my experience as a collegiate athlete and how attending a for-profit versus a a public versus a private institution bears a significant role in state and government awards that student athletes can receive while participating at those universities on an athletic scholarship. I also wanted to point out the advantages that colleges and universities have in their tax structure by being nonprofit organizations. I also highlight some interesting vertical integrations of college sports and their ability to bridge media, forming their own networks, receiving considerable amount of tax breaks, as well as ticketing and trademarked apparel that they're earning substantial amounts of revenue off of their collegiate athletes as another reason why they should be paid. We'll also talk about the very low number of college athletes drafted, and then those who actually go on to the NBA draft or NFL draft, and how that actually affects their opportunity to earn over a lifetime in professional sports. First thing I want to highlight is in my own experience, I played college basketball at Lynn University in Boca Raton, Florida. I was also recruited by Florida Atlantic University, who's also in Boca Raton, Florida as well. Florida Atlantic is a Florida State University and college. Lynn University is a private college. I left high school as a Bright Future Award winner. I was a Florida resident, and I should have, once entering college, been able to receive my full Pell Grant, Florida Frag, as well as my Florida Resident Grant, along with my Bright Futures. Unfortunately, my decision to choose a private institution like Lynn University gave them the ability to supplement my academic educational award with their athletic award, which decreased the amount of athletic scholarship that they gave me. And over the course of 3 years, from my sophomore to my senior year, we were able to sign an additional student athlete to a scholarship because I actually had some award money that academically they apply to that scholarship. Be mindful that I never received any of that money. I was restricted from as an amateur athlete on how much time I can spend away from the team. I was not allowed to earn an income at all. I was a father of a newborn baby at the time and had no way of supporting my child during that very difficult tenure. So I would have loved to have been paid or received a stipend or work study during that tenure. Or if I would have chosen to go into a state school, then I would have received some of that government aid back to me. But unfortunately, I wasn't educated on that decision during the college recruiting process before accepting my scholarship at one of those schools. Next point that I would like to make is that whether or not the National Labor Relations Board, who just denied the University of Northwestern the opportunity to unionize based on the argument of whether student athletes are actual employees or whether they're student athletes. I want to vote for them being employees because 80% of my time as a collegiate athlete was spent either in a basketball or a sports related activity. The other 20% I spent in class or doing work related to school. But with the extensive travel schedule, practice schedule, pre-game prep, post-game talks, injury prevention, injury recovery that I had to go through as a collegiate athlete, along with the travel from state to state very often, city to city, it was very difficult to have any access to anything else on the student life. Therefore, I vote that athletes are and should be considered employees. The next thing we're going to discuss is how colleges and universities have been able to successfully vertically integrate both media, their ticketing, their sports facilities to create very, very high generating, multi-million dollar revenue generating businesses, and student athletes who are are very important in them actually doing that, receive no type of profit sharing. And as noted, the University of Northwestern from 2003 to 2012 made $235 million off of their football program alone, which none of those athletes were able to receive any of that money. The reason why I believe that athletes should be paid, especially in this situation, when you think about someone who goes from who's still considered an amateur, but is directly responsible for creating these high profits and these revenues for these universities, in my opinion, because of their time that they're spent in that sport, due to the fact that they can't have a regular student campus life to go on and further themselves in a volunteer perspective, or a role where they can now go and receive an internship to further themselves in their field of study, due to the high demand that their athletic program is placing on them. Athletes should be compensated in a way, because they're going to be severely handicapped in comparison to those who are there as a regular student. And according to a New Huffington Post article, it says that 48% of the total college graduates have reported that they themselves are in jobs that do not even require the minimum of a bachelor's degree. So because of those new statistics and numbers, the value of a college education has dropped significantly. Therefore, the comparison that a free education is worth all of the wear and tear on the athlete's body. For football players, the potential for cerebral damage due to the concussions and other highly active related things that keep them from furthering themselves as a citizen post-college. I would vote that we definitely give student athletes the nod to receive and be paid. The next thing I want to point out is that the majority of our colleges and universities are tax exempt. Therefore, their athletic programs also fall under this umbrella. So the revenue generated from these athletic departments are not taxed. But however, donors who support these programs also can receive tax benefits and breaks when student athletes do not receive anything additional. And it has been clarified that our IRS code will offer tax breaks and allow for specific things such as tuition, fees, supplies, equipment, to be considered non-taxed income if athletes are paid in any way, which I would think that supplies should fall in that category. So if they do receive a monetary stipend, that should fall under the category of supplies for them, as their, other than lodging and meals, all other facets of living has to be paid for by that athlete on that campus, and many of them don't have the income in order to support that. Last but not least, I want to just bring up that for the 1% of the athletes who do earn a professional opportunity to move to the next level, according to the NCAA, for football, there's about 15,842 eligible athletes a year trying to make it and vie for 256 draft spots. That's 1.6% of that population ever become pros, and then if they do become pros, they are never given an opportunity to actualize their true value because of the draft stipulations that severely cap earning potential of those athletes. And for that reason alone, I also agree that student athletes should be paid.